Silent invasion. They arrived during a summer thunderstorm, their massive vessels materializing through the dark clouds above every major city on Earth. No warnings, no signals, no demands. Just the sudden presence of obsidian structures that spanned kilometers across, hovering silently like monolithic predators assessing their prey. For 23 hours, they did nothing but watch. Then the slaughter began. The Vexari, as we would later learn they called themselves, descended from their ships in sleek, biomechanical drop pods that crashed through office buildings, homes, and streets. They emerged as towering figures standing nearly 3 meters tall, bodies covered in iridescent scales that rippled with each movement, changing color like oil on water. Their elongated limbs ended in retractable claws that could slice through concrete, and their faces were a nightmare of multiple compound eyes and mandibles that clicked in a rhythmic pattern when they communicated. They didn't speak. They didn't negotiate. They hunted. Shanghai fell within 2 hours. London in 3. By the time the sun rose the following day, every government on Earth was in collapse or retreat. Military responses were immediate but futile. Conventional weapons barely penetrated the Vexari's natural armor, and their own weaponry melted through tanks and aircraft with energy beams that left nothing but ash. The Vexari transmitted only one message across all frequencies, translated by desperate linguists moments before they too were slaughtered. The harvest begins. That was 12 days ago. Riley Chen had been asleep when the invasion began, sprawled across the worn couch in her small apartment outside of Boston. At 42, the former military strategist had spent the last 5 years trying to forget what she'd seen during the resource wars, drowning memories in cheap whiskey and even cheaper companionship. The screeching of her emergency alert system had jolted her awake just as the first explosions rocked the city center. She'd survived by instinct, grabbing the go bag she'd kept prepared since her discharge and the custom rifle she wasn't supposed to own. While others ran screaming into the streets, Riley moved in the opposite direction, keeping to shadows and back alleys, observing the invaders through her scope with cold calculation. Now, she crouched in the basement of an abandoned hardware store, surrounded by 14 survivors who looked to her with desperate eyes. Their group had doubled in the last 3 days as Riley pulled people from burning buildings and Vexari feeding grounds. "They're not just killing us," she explained, voice low as she sketched a rough map on the concrete floor with a piece of charcoal. "They're consuming us. The Vexari are apex predators in the purest sense. They evolved to hunt and eat sentient species." "How could you possibly know that?" asked Daniel, a high school physics teacher who'd lost his family in the initial attack. Riley's mouth tightened. "Because I've been watching them. They have feeding rituals. They select certain victims, usually the strongest or most defiant, and consume them while the others are forced to watch. It's not just for sustenance. It's intimidation. So we're just food to them," whispered May, a college student who hadn't spoken since Riley found her hiding in a drainage ditch. "Food and sport," Riley confirmed. "But that's actually good news." The group exchanged confused glances. "It means they're not here to exterminate us completely or terraform the planet. They want to maintain a population they can hunt. And predators, even alien ones, have patterns. Patterns we can exploit." For the first time since the invasion, Riley felt a familiar clarity, the tactical part of her brain working faster than the fear. She'd spent 15 years analyzing enemy movements and behaviors, finding weaknesses in seemingly impenetrable defenses. Now she was doing it again, but with higher stakes than ever before. "I've been cataloging their movements," she continued, pulling out a worn notebook filled with hasty sketches and notes. "They hunt in groups of 3. They prefer to attack during daylight. And most importantly, they have a biological weakness." This caught everyone's attention. 2 days ago, I saw one of them injured when a gas station exploded. Most of the blast didn't affect it, but the fire did. Not just any fire, the chemical fire from the burning gasoline. Its scales hardened and cracked, like they were calcifying. It couldn't move properly. The others had to drag it away. Daniel leaned forward. So they're vulnerable to hydrocarbons, petroleum products. Riley nodded. I think it's something specific in the chemical composition. Maybe something that reacts with their biology. I need someone who understands chemistry better than I do. A thin woman with graying hair raised her hand slightly. I was a pharmaceutical researcher before all this. Dr. Eliza Okafor. For the first time in days, Riley felt something like hope flicker in her chest. Dr. Okafor, if I can get you samples of their biology and access to some basic lab equipment, could you help me weaponize this weakness? The scientist's eyes narrowed in concentration. Possibly. I'll need to analyze their cellular structure, see how it reacts to different compounds. Good, Riley said, turning to the others. We need supplies. Food, water, weapons, but most importantly, we need information and allies. These things might be stronger than us, but humans have defeated apex predators before. We just need to be smarter, more adaptable. Over the next week, their group, calling themselves the Phantoms, grew to 37 people. Riley established 3 primary objectives: survive, gather intelligence, and develop weapons. Teams were formed based on skills and background, with Riley coordinating their movements through the ruins of Boston. Dr. Okafor, working in a makeshift lab in an abandoned veterinary clinic, confirmed Riley's theory. The Vexaries scales contained compounds that reacted catastrophically with certain petroleum derivatives, causing rapid crystallization of their protective outer layer. With this knowledge, the group began designing rudimentary weapons, modified flamethrowers using gasoline mixed with specific chemicals, explosive traps with similar compounds. Their first victory came unexpectedly. A hunting party of 3 Vexarii had cornered a family in a collapsed apartment building. The Phantoms, positioned strategically around the perimeter, waited until all 3 aliens were inside before triggering their trap, multiple improvised incendiary devices detonating simultaneously. The Vexaries' agonized shrieks echoed through the devastated neighborhood, a sound so piercing it made several team members vomit. But when the smoke cleared and Riley led a cautious approach, they found all 3 predators dead, their once fluid movements arrested by crystallized shells that had formed around their bodies. Riley knelt beside one of the massive corpses, studying its frozen features with grim satisfaction. Now we know we can kill them, she said. And fear works both ways. Word spread quickly through the scattered human resistance. The Phantoms weren't the only group fighting back, but they were the first to discover an effective weapon. Using salvaged radio equipment, they'd broadcast their findings to other survivors, creating a network of resistance cells across what remained of the Northeast. The Vexarii, for their part, seemed confused by the sudden organized resistance. Their hunting patterns became more cautious, less predictable. They began traveling in larger groups, abandoning their usual tactic of spreading out to maximize their hunting territory. They're afraid, Riley told her team 2 weeks after their first successful ambush. They came here expecting easy prey, not opposition. Every time we kill one of them, we shatter their perception of humanity as mere food. By the 1-month mark, the Phantoms had grown into a force of over 200 fighters spread across what used to be Massachusetts. They'd established communication with similar groups in New York, Philadelphia, and as far west as Chicago. Humanity was adapting, as it always had when faced with extinction. Riley stood on the roof of their current base, a community college with reinforced buildings and underground tunnels perfect for moving unseen. In the distance, one of the massive Vexarii ships hovered over Boston's skyline, its surface reflecting the orange glow of fires that had burned unchecked for weeks. Daniel joined her, handing over a mug of something hot that might have once been coffee. The new weapons are ready. The Lisa managed to refine the formula. More potent, less material needed. Riley nodded. Good. We move against their forward base tomorrow. They've established a processing center in the financial district. That's where they're taking captives. Are you sure we're ready for a direct assault? Riley took a sip from the mug, grimacing at the bitter taste. No, but they're learning too. They're already adjusting to our ambush tactics. If we wait too long, we lose our advantage. She turned to face him fully, her expression hardened by weeks of brutal survival and leadership decisions that haunted her sleep. Besides, those are our people in there. The Vexari are keeping them alive for future hunts. I'm not leaving them to that fate. Daniel was quiet for a moment before asking, "Do you think we can actually win this? Not just survive, but drive them off?" Riley looked back at the Vexari ship, its alien geometry, an affront to the human skyline it had invaded. "I don't know. But I know this. They came here expecting to find prey. Instead, they're going to learn what happens when you corner a species that has survived ice ages, plagues, and its own self-destructive tendencies. Humanity doesn't roll over and die, not even for the most advanced predators in the universe." The next morning, Riley led 50 fighters through the underground tunnels toward the Vexori Processing Center. Each carried weapons specifically designed to exploit the aliens' biological weakness, and each moved with the quiet determination of people who had nothing left to lose. As they approached their target, Riley activated her radio one last time. "All teams in position. Remember the plan. We're not just fighting for ourselves today. We're showing these things that Earth isn't their hunting ground. It's our home, and we're going to defend it." She paused, then added, "And if we die today, make sure you take as many of these bastards with you as possible. Let's show the universe what humanity is really made of." With that, the first coordinated assault against the Vexari began, marking a turning point in a war that would reshape humanity's place in the cosmos. Humanity Unleashed. 6 months after the Vexari arrived, Earth was unrecognizable. Cities had been reduced to hunting grounds, forests burned to deny humans cover, and oceans patrolled by biomechanical constructs that resembled prehistoric sea monsters. But something else had changed too. The invaders no longer moved with the casual confidence of unchallenged apex predators. They were watching the shadows now. They were looking over their shoulders. Commander Drezek stood on the observation deck of the Vexari mothership, his iridescent scales shifting to a deep purple of frustration as he watched the burning ruins of what had once been Seoul. The city should have been pacified months ago, yet reports of human resistance continued to flow in. His 3 primary eyes narrowed as he reviewed the latest casualty figures. 37 Vexari hunting parties lost in the last lunar cycle alone. Impossible, he chittered to his subordinate, mandibles clicking rapidly. These creatures were classified as soft prey. Their bodies break easily. Their weapons are primitive. Their social structures fragile. How are they still fighting? Hunt Master Kryvax, bearing fresh scars across his thorax from a recent encounter with human resistance fighters, lowered his head in deference. "The humans are adapting, Commander. They've discovered the reactivity between our exoskeletons and their petroleum compounds. They're using it against us, improving their tactics with each engagement." Drezak hissed, a sound that made lesser Vexari tremble. "They're prey. Prey doesn't adapt to predators. Prey flees or dies. These prey fight," Kryvax responded simply. "And they're becoming more effective." On the surface below, Riley Chen no longer resembled the woman who had once hidden in a hardware store basement. Her body was leaner, harder, marked with scars and crude tattoos denoting successful hunts. The Phantoms had grown from a desperate band of survivors into the Eastern Seaboard Coalition, one of 7 major human resistance organizations coordinating the global fight against the Vexari. Their current base of operations sprawled through the repurposed subway tunnels beneath New York City, a labyrinthine network of living quarters, workshops, training areas, and command centers. Maps covered the walls, tracking Vexari movements and human strongholds across the planet. "We've confirmed it," Dr. Okafor announced, entering the war room where Riley was conferring with other cell leaders. "The Vexari are communicating through some kind of collective neural network. Their ships serve as amplifiers, but the signal itself is biological in nature. Riley straightened from the map table. Can we disrupt it? Eliza smiled thinly, holding up a small device cobbled together from salvaged electronics and what appeared to be biological material. We already have. This prototype generates a counter-frequency that causes severe disorientation in any Vexari within half a kilometer. We've been testing it on captured specimens. The mention of captives still made some of the newer recruits uncomfortable, but Riley had long since moved past such hesitations. The Vexari had come to hunt humans. Turnabout was fair play. Mass-produce them, Riley ordered. Priority distribution to all frontline units, and get me everything you've learned about their communication systems. I want to know if we can use it to feed them false information. The war had evolved from desperate survival to systematic resistance. Humans had always been adept at adapting enemy technology, and the Vexari's biological weapons proved no exception. Scientists and engineers working in hidden laboratories across the planet had reverse-engineered captured Vexari equipment, creating hybrid technologies that combined human ingenuity with alien biology. Daniel, now Riley's second-in-command, entered with a tablet displaying satellite imagery. The Chicago offensive was successful. 3 Vexari ships destroyed, minimal human casualties. And our teams in Europe report they've driven the hunting parties completely out of the Alps. The mountains belong to us now. Riley nodded, allowing herself the ghost of a smile. What about the Pacific operation? Ready to launch on your command. 25 submersibles, each armed with the new sonic disruptors. If we can take out their underwater processing facility, we cut off their primary food supply chain. The Vexari had established massive processing centers in the deepest parts of the Pacific Ocean, using them to store human captives in stasis fields for future consumption. Intelligence suggested that the central facility housed over 10,000 prisoners, kept alive but unconscious while the aliens cycled through their food supply. We move at dawn, Riley decided. And I'm leading this one personally. Daniel started to object, but Riley silenced him with a look. I need to see their main operation up close. There's something we're missing about their organizational structure, and I won't figure it out from satellite images. The attack on the Pacific facility became known as Operation Poseidon's Wrath, a coordinated assault involving submarines commandeered from abandoned naval bases and retrofitted with weapons designed specifically to target Vexari biology. Riley commanded from the lead vessel, a former research submarine now bristling with sonic cannons and chemical torpedoes. As they approached the massive underwater complex, sensors detected unusual activity. Vexari communication frequencies spiking and then fragmenting in patterns unlike anything they'd observed before. Something's wrong, Riley murmured, studying the readouts. They're agitated, but not because of us. They don't know we're here yet. The answer came moments later when they witnessed a Vexari patrol ship being attacked by another Vexari vessel. The 2 alien crafts tore into each other with energy weapons, their sleek designs momentarily beautiful in their dance of destruction before both imploded under the pressure of depth and damage. Hold position, Riley ordered, her mind racing through possibilities. All units maintain stealth protocols. Something's happening within their ranks. As they watched, more Vexari ships engaged each other, their formations breaking down into chaos. The main facility's defenses activated, but seemed to target friendly and hostile vessels indiscriminately. It's civil war, Dr. Okafor breathed, analyzing the communication signals. A faction within their ranks is rebelling against the command structure. Riley made a split-second decision that would later be studied in the reformed military academies of Earth. All units proceed with the original mission. Target the facility's containment systems only. Free the prisoners, but avoid engaging the Vexari directly. Let them fight each other while we rescue our people. The operation succeeded beyond their expectations. With the Vexari distracted by internal conflict, the human fleet penetrated the facility's outer defenses with minimal resistance. They liberated over 12,000 captives from stasis pods and retrieved terabytes of data from the facility's central systems, before setting charges to destroy it. As they prepared to withdraw, their communications officer reported an incoming transmission from a Vexeri ship. "They're requesting to speak with our leader," the young technician said, her voice uncertain. In English. Riley hesitated only briefly. "Put it through." The view screen flickered, revealing a Vexeri larger than any Riley had encountered. Its scales shifted in complex patterns of blue and green, and the arrangement of its facial features suggested advanced age. "I am Mavericks," it spoke, the words halting but understandable. "Leader of the Reformation. We seek dialogue." Riley's hand remained near her weapon. "You've had 6 months to talk. You chose to hunt us instead." "Not us," Mavericks responded. "The dominant clutch. The rulers. They see all species as food. We reformers believe differently. We have watched your resistance. You fight unlike any prey species we have encountered." "We're not prey," Riley stated flatly. "That's your first mistake." The alien's mandibles clicked in what might have been acknowledgement. "Yes, we understand this now. Some of us wish to stop this war because we can give you the access codes to the mothership's defensive systems. We can help you end this war." The alliance with the Vexeri reformers was controversial, met with hatred and suspicion by most humans. But Riley understood that survival sometimes required uncomfortable partnerships. The reformers, a small but technically advanced faction within Vexeri society, had grown disillusioned with the endless expansion and consumption mandated by their species' leadership. With their help, human forces developed a plan to strike at the heart of the invasion. The massive command ship hovering above what had once been Beijing. The vessel, nearly 20 kilometers in diameter, served as both the Vexeri command center and their primary cloning facility, where new hunters were grown from genetic templates. The final battle took place exactly 7 months after the initial invasion. Combined human forces from around the globe converged on the command ship, using reformer codes to bypass outer defenses. Riley led a small strike team that included Daniel, Dr. Okafor, and Mavericks himself. Their mission to reach the ship's central neural core and upload a virus designed to disrupt the Vexeri collective consciousness. The corridors of the mothership were organic in design, pulsing with an unsettling bioluminescence that made shadows dance and shift. They encountered resistance, loyal Vexeri guards who fought with the desperation of a species facing extinction. But the combination of human determination and reformer knowledge proved unstoppable. When they finally reached the neural core, they found Commander Drazak waiting, his massive form blocking access to the pulsating organic computer that coordinated the Vexeri fleet. "You bring shame to our species," he hissed at Mavericks. "Collaborating with food." The reformer stood tall beside Riley. "They are not food, Drazak. They are something we have never encountered before, a prey species that refused its role. A species that fights back, adapts, overcomes. We should learn from them, not consume them." Drazak's response was a guttural snarl as he lunged forward, claws extended. The battle was brief but brutal, ending with both Drazak and Mavericks mortally wounded, their iridescent blood mingling on the chamber floor. As Mavericks lay dying, he gestured weakly toward the neural core. "Finish it," he told Riley. "Show the collective what humans truly are." With Dr. Okafor's guidance, Riley uploaded not just the disruption virus, but also a comprehensive record of humanity's resistance, the innovations, the sacrifices, the unbreakable will to survive. The message would propagate through the entire Vexeri fleet, showing them in vivid detail why Earth had been the wrong planet to hunt. As the upload completed, the ship's systems began to fail. Emergency lights flashed, and the organic walls themselves seemed to tremble. "Time to go," Riley ordered, helping Daniel support the injured Dr. Okafor. They left Maverick's body where it had fallen, a testament to the possibility that even the most vicious predators could change. The evacuation was chaotic but successful. Escape pods jettisoned from the mothership moments before it began its slow, catastrophic descent from orbit. Across the planet, remaining Vexari vessels disengaged from battle and retreated toward deep space, their collective consciousness shattered by the virus and the realization it carried. Standing on a hilltop outside the ruined city once known as Beijing, Riley watched the command ship break apart in the atmosphere, fragments burning like shooting stars across the dawn sky. The sight reminded her of fireworks from a childhood that seemed to belong to another person entirely. Daniel joined her, his face scared but his eyes clear. "Is it really over?" Riley didn't answer immediately, her gaze fixed on the horizon, where the sun was rising over a changed world. "This war is, but they're still out there, the Vexari, and who knows how many other species. The universe just got a lot bigger and a lot more dangerous. At least they know not to mess with Earth now," Daniel said with grim satisfaction. Riley nodded slowly. "They came here thinking we were prey. They're leaving knowing better." She turned away from the sunrise, already planning the next steps for a humanity that would never again be caught unprepared. Let's make sure the rest of the galaxy learns the same lesson. In the years that followed, Earth rebuilt from the ashes of invasion. The technology salvaged from Vexari ships accelerated human development by centuries, enabling the construction of a defense network that spanned the solar system. The surviving reformer Vexari, though few in number, provided invaluable information about other spacefaring species and the wider galactic community. Humanity, once isolated on its small blue planet, now stood ready to take its place among the stars, not as prey, but as equals. And throughout the galaxy, word spread of the small, seemingly fragile species that had defeated the most feared predators in known space. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a warning.